YouTube, welcome to the first episode of BRRRRing to a Million. So I am super excited about this series because this is something that I've been working on for almost 3 years now, getting my first BRRRR property at 22 years old. And I'm super excited to show you guys what I've got here, the journey, how I did it, blah, blah, blah. So I just closed on this house behind me. It's here in West Seattle, starting to get some work done. And without further ado, let's get into this. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. Why did I choose to invest in real estate and why did I choose the BRRRR strategy? When I was in high school, I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I was basically like, well, I don't want to work for other people, and it would be really, really cool to not have to work at all. So I started thinking, well, what do rich people do? They invest. And what do they invest in? A lot of them have real estate, like rental property, that give them cash flow every single month, reoccurring income, and all they had to do was buy a few houses. That was my general idea. I was like, okay, let's focus on rental properties. Ultimately, that led me to also becoming a real estate agent because I knew that I could make some good money, short amount of time, didn't need to go to college. Got other videos on that part of the story. Basically, I started doing my research on rental properties and I was like, okay, so rent in Seattle is $3,000. So if I get like 10 properties in Seattle, that would give me $30,000 a month in rental income. So I got online and I was like, how much do I need to buy rental property? I did my research and I found out you need 20% down to buy rental properties. Ouch. In Seattle, the houses are $500,000 to $1 million. So that would mean $100,000 to $200,000 for down payment. And I was like, so I need to make $100,000 a year to buy one property a year to eventually have 10 properties in 10 years? There's got to be a better way. So BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. You buy a fixer-upper, you rehab it so that it's at a new value, then you rent it out, get it rented out, put a tenant in there, and then you refinance the property and get that original investment back so that you can repeat with that money you got back and do the process all over again. It's like how people flip houses, but instead of selling the house and getting their original investment plus their profit back out of the property, in BRRRR, you are keeping the property so that profit stays in the property as equity. Then you still take your original investment back through that refinance, and then you go do it again and you stack rental properties using that same 20% down payment that you used to buy it. So that's where I got sold on BRRRR. I was like, all right, so I just need to make the money one time and then I can go buy a fixer, fix it up, have it at a new value, refinance, get the money back, buy another fixer, have that one rented out, blah, blah, blah. And once I figured out that's what I wanted to do, I got to work making my plan to make the down payment money, get my credit together. I was 18 years old at the time, and get my debt to income ratio and my employment and all of that so that I could get qualified to buy real estate. If you've followed me for a while, you have watched me literally from year one where I made my first 6 figures selling real estate as an agent. That is where I made the income to start doing the BRRRR strategy. During that time also, I was working on getting my credit higher so I could get better rates on interest. I was filing my taxes and all the other necessary requirements to get approved for a conventional or FHA loan, whichever one I wanted to use. So the funny thing too is that you really don't need 20% down to buy a BRRRR. You can buy a BRRRR and live in it, quote unquote, where you can use like an owner-occupied loan where you can put 3.5% or 5% down on a fixer property and then just live in it and flip it at the same time. You only need to live there for a year if you use an owner-occupied loan. So, I'm scared for you on that one. So you can still accomplish BRRRR while living there, or even house hacking because mortgage rates are high and monthly payments are high. So you can get a live and flip, house hack it, and then a year later rent out the whole property and go do the process again. It's kind of like a BRRRR house hack combined strategy. And that is what I plan to do here. So I'm gonna house hack it. I'm only put 5% down on this house. Didn't need to do the 20%. I can still use my savings and go buy another purely BRRRR rental property. But for the sake of simplicity and just because I can put a low down payment on this one, I'm gonna house hack BRRRR it. And like I'm about to show you, I'm gonna build another unit in the back, which is really the selling point of this property. So let me show you. So where did I learn all this stuff? Like I said, when I started in real estate, I was 17, 18, and I literally, like I said, just came in my head. I was like, okay, I need rental property to retire early. So that's why I just got online, information is everywhere. I literally Googled like, how to buy rental property, best ways to buy rental property, whatever. And I went down a YouTube rabbit hole until I saw things like Bigger Pockets and Thatch Win and all these gurus who were talking about BRRRR. And that's where I found out like, hey, there's this strategy where I can recycle money and basically stack properties until I have enough cash flow to retire again. But now I actually have a lot of mentors that I've either earned or hired, like paid for, who I meet with like weekly to work on my investing strategy and my plan and my business to keep me on track to my goals and always have the knowledge there available in case I need it. Because you can figure this stuff out yourself through books and YouTube and the internet, but to have someone like in person in your corner who wants to see you win and they're there to help you, that is invaluable and it's always worth every penny. So I have mentors. I mentor with That's Win. He's really big on social media. I coach through the Tom Ferry program for my real estate business. I do a lot to stay involved with these communities so that I'm always growing, I can give back, and I can make accomplishments like this. So let's talk about this house. There are a lot of ways to find BRRRR properties. The crazy thing is that a lot of gurus are out there right now saying that BRRRR is dead, like it doesn't work in this market, you can't get the properties low enough, blah, blah, blah. Just by hanging with that, I know that it 100% works. I've seen his properties, I've seen the numbers, it works. I've sourced dozens of BRRRRs for other people that just didn't fit my buy box. And the big thing on BRRRR is that you have to get the property at a low enough price that once you add in the rehab, that it appraises big enough value to refinance your original investment back. For example, I bought this house for $500,000. I'm putting about $50,000 as we speak into the rehab, and then it's going to be worth $650,000. If I couldn't get this property for less than $600,000, $50,000 and it was still only going to be worth $650,000 when it's done, then there's zero equity there and this wouldn't have made sense. So I wouldn't have bought it. It's going to be worth $650,000 when it's done, so I have $100,000 of equity in this house in the next 3 months. When it comes to finding properties like this where you can get them low enough to add the value and still appraise at the new value to get your original investment back or make a profit, you can find these through the MLS. I've seen people find these right off going on Redfin or Zillow and just making lowball offers or finding a hidden gem that was priced low. You can find these properties through wholesalers like myself. I do a lot of wholesaling here in Seattle. You can go out and find these yourself by cold calling owners, knocking on their doors, mailing to them. If you've seen me talk about wholesaling, then all the ways we find wholesales, we find BRRRRs. The last and arguably best way to find good deals is through the people you know. So referrals or your database, they know that you're out there looking for ugly homes to buy and add value to and improve the neighborhood. And so they're like, hey, I've got this house, or my grandma's got this house, or my friend's got this house that they need to get rid of. Can you help them buy it so that they don't need to put on the market or fix it up or anything like that? And I have done many, many deals so far in the last few years between being a realtor, being a wholesaler, and I've bought 2 other houses already. I have sourced deals every which way. I've gotten them by cold calling, I've gotten them by door knocking, I've gotten them by sending postcards, and this BRRRR that I just closed on actually came to me through a family friend who was moving down south and ready to sell her house here in Seattle. And if you know me, you know that if it's a good deal, doesn't matter where it came from, I'll take it. But just for the sake of when I find my perfect BRRRR, if you will, I want it to come easily where I don't have to pay a realtor or a wholesaler or work that hard. For the past year of looking for this property, I've been setting the intention of I'm gonna find it, myself. It's gonna be easy. The universe will just give it to me. It's something we learn a lot through Thatch's program is this concept of alignment and putting what you want into the universe so that it can give it back to you. So it honestly was a big part of the gut feeling on knowing that this was a good deal beyond the numbers. Because this was a family friend, they said they wanted me to buy their house and help them move down south. It just all felt right. So basically what happened was family friend called me up. She's like, Dana, I've been seeing your videos online and you are just so adorable. And I want to go to Central Southern Washington and get out of Seattle. Will you please help me? And when I got that phone call, I was like, oh my God, of course I will help you. Let me come over and let's talk about it. So we connected and we talked about what she wanted to buy next. I got on the MLS as little realtor me does, and I found her a couple houses down south, sent them to her. Didn't really like any of them yet until finally one day there was this house that was for sale for $500,000. She looked at the pictures, she loved it. She was like, Bana, can we please go see this house? It was 2 hours down south, but you know me, I'm a great realtor, so I drove down south to show it to her and totally fell in love with it. She was like, Bana, I want this house. What do I have to do? Let's get going. Let's go sell the house. Let's make it happen. And they owned this house free and clear, and so they were going to just sell this house and use the proceeds to pay for the next one. They were like, if I can sell this house and get the next house and not have to put up any money for the next house, we're happy. So on this $500,000 house, still had to get him a good deal. So we offered $475 and they took $475. And by this point, I actually hadn't seen their house yet. So I didn't know that I was gonna buy it, but I knew from what she had told me that it wasn't, super picture perfect or ready for the market or anything. So I figured I was gonna be wholesaling it to one of my investors until I looked up her property online and I came to see it in person and I was like, This house is in Seattle on a single family zoning that allows for you to build a detached unit in the back. And as long as they can trade out their house for the next house, they don't care what they get for it, you know, essentially. But I was like, this actually fits what I've been looking for. Well, let me go check it out. And I'm not gonna lie, it didn't fit every single box. This is a 1-story. I would prefer a 1-story with a basement, but for the price point, this is pretty good. So timeline wise, we found them their next house. We put that under contract with like a 30-day closing. And then it only took me a few days to figure out that I actually want to buy their house. And so I was like, hey, I will buy your house for $500,000. After buying the next house and paying things like closing costs, that will leave you about $5,000 to $10,000 positive that you'll be getting out of the 2 transactions. And again, the universal alignment of this whole situation, you guys, we have deals where everything goes wrong, everything is stressful, everything sucks. But on this transaction, they were like, yes, Vena, we love that you're buying our house. Please, let's do this. We really want to do this with you. We are so grateful that it's you and that you're buying it and that you're helping us buy the next one. And we only have to deal with you on this, so let's do it. 2 weeks later, we closed on the houses at the same time. I let them rent this house back for a couple months so that they had time to move. It was a really big house and really far away that they're going to. And that is no issue for investors because they still let me do the outside while they were here. And I had somewhere to stay, so it was cool. So that was that. They will be moving out real soon so I can start showing you guys the inside and the fun part of rehabbing the property. As you can see, we've already got new windows and paint, but for this episode, we're just talking about the closing, first part, what this kind of looks like and what the plan is. You already heard the numbers on the front house, the $500,000 purchase, about $50,000 in rehab or fix up. A minute for $550, it's gonna be worth $650 on just the main house when it's done. So let's go to the back and I'll show you the exciting part. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you heard me in the beginning when I talked about how I got started in real estate by selling real estate as an agent and wholesaling, wholesaling has become my main squeeze and how I am making my active income. And if you want to get started in wholesaling, I make a ton of videos about it, how I find deals like this, how I sell them to make big checks, and keeping the good ones for myself to build my own wealth. If you want to get started, check out my other videos and then check the link down below where you can send me deals that you are working on. If you're in Seattle, I'm happy to partner up with you to do these deals in person. Literally just send me the address down below and I'll hit you up within 24 hours. And for the rest of the US, I've got a team that can help sell your wholesale contract. So if you've got a deal that you're stuck on, you know it's a good one, but you just can't find a buyer, we can help you get that sold. I'm most active checking my YouTube comments and my Instagram DMs, so you can contact me there. Let's do some deals together. And now let's get back to the video. All right, so this is the backyard of this property. And this in Seattle is the big money maker. This is the money play. Right here, as you can see, there's an existing garage. My plan here is, in addition to fixing up the front house, making it pretty, that's like standard BRRRR. The cool thing that we can do here in this zoning territory, the cool thing that we can do here in this zone is we can build a detached additional dwelling unit, or DADU. We can build that up here to have extra units on the property. Now in Seattle, single family zoning, as of 2023, you can have 3 units, which is your main house, an additional dwelling unit, which is attached to the main house, like a finished basement or a add-on to the main house that's attached. And you can have a detached additional dwelling unit, or DADU. So the reason I bought this property is because you can do that. You can go ahead and get a regular BRRRR and just do the front house and have that. But adding a DADU gives you extra rental income and it gives you a bucket ton of extra equity. So the plan here is to build a detached unit in Seattle. I am estimating about $350 a square foot for building, and we're shooting for a maximum size 1,000 square foot DADU here. So that would be a total building cost of $350,000. Now, when it's done, and we have direct comps on the street of people who have built DADUs, it's very popular here in Seattle, I know that it'll be worth about $600,000. Between planning, permits, and building, it'll take 9 to 11 months to build. So by that time, hopefully it'll be worth $650,000. But the point is, by spending $350,000 to build it and having it worth $600,000 when it's done, I can expect to make $250,000 of equity in this property just from the DADU. And then with $100,000 of equity in the front from fixing up that house, the whole property will have $350,000 in equity on this one lot in Seattle. Mic drop. And like I said, I'm doing the house hack strategy. So while we're building the DADU, I'm gonna live in the front house and rent or Airbnb the rooms. Once the DADU is done and my 1 year of occupancy on my FHA loan has been complete, then I can move out, rent the main house, rent the DADU, and go do it again. Once I move out, I can expect to make about $4,000 a month on the main house from Airbnb, and then about the same on the DADU. For 1,000 square feet, maybe more like 3,500, but 7,500 total rental income will come from this one property. Now I will have mortgage payments. Remember, it's not not cheap to build this stuff. And currently the mortgage payment for the house is $4,000. So let's see, after I move out, what is my mortgage payment gonna be? The total value between both houses is going to be about 1.25 million, right? 650 for the front, 600 for the back. So we go in here and we say 1.25 million total home value. We'll probably have to leave about 25 to 30% of equity inside the house after refinancing. Regular interest rate, probably, who knows where interest rates will be, but let's just say 6.5. That is a $6,800 mortgage payment for the entire property. And best case scenario, we'll have $8,000 in total rental income, which makes for $1,200 of pure cash flow in 1 year. I'll take that. So a couple of key things that made this property a winner. You have to know what your buy box is in Seattle. Like looking for good BRRRRs where I can add dadus for the past 12 to 24 months. I had to know my zoning code to a T. I had to know my building codes. I have to know what I'm looking for on these lots so that I know for sure that I can accomplish this whole strategy. So here in Seattle, the most coveted creme de la creme real estate development site is a 5,000 plus square foot lot with a small house on it that's on a corner with an alley. That means that you have a small house with a basement, I might add, that you can convert into a second unit. So main house, upstairs unit, downstairs ADU, plus room on the lot to build a third unit, your dadu. Being on a corner with an alley just means better access to the dadu because you need to have certain parking spots for each unit. You need to have access for the equipment to come through to build the dadu. If you have a lot that's like narrow with a house covering the whole front and there's no alley, even if there's a backyard with space to build a dadu, you can't get cars or anything back there to build it. So that would be a no-go. Here on this property, we're not on a corner, but we do have an alley with full access to the back. There's street parking in the front for the main house, and we will have to designate parking here in the back for the dadu or the main house. That one I just leave to the architect. But the other thing too is we have a tree on this property, and City of Seattle really likes to protect their trees. If it's bigger than a certain size and of a certain breed, if you will, of tree, then you either can't build it or you have to respect a very large area around it to build, and you can't cut them down. And when I started looking at this property, I was like, we've got a tree. That's a huge issue. Let me talk to an arborist and architect to make sure that I can still build. Luckily, this tree is near the edge of the lot, so there's a lot of space left to build a dadu, but if it were in the middle, we probably couldn't have made it happen. So this is where you need to do your research. You have to have a good team behind you. For this whole project, I've got a contracting team doing the front house, and then I'm hiring an architect and a builder to do this dadu. On this one, literally like this week as we speak, I'm still weighing pros and cons on either keeping the garage and just building on top of it or knocking it down and building fresh. There's pros and cons of both. I'm definitely making its own video for these purposes again, and because this is kind of like a niche thing, this is only in a few areas really, I just want to show y'all the beauty of the BRRRR strategy where we are building equity, we're building cash flow, and we are moving towards building our net worth, creating generational wealth, and moving towards retirement. Now, let me also say, I am buying this property more for the equity and appreciation than the cash flow. And let me tell you why. I see a lot of investors go buy houses in the Midwest because they give really great cash flow. They're super cheap. I hear it all the time, like, you know, how do I go buy out of state? How should I do this? I don't know. I don't do that. My thing is that money can be made. You know, I'm young, I can still make a lot of active income in a year, but as far as building wealth and setting myself up for life, this is the play. I bought this property 5% down, and in the next 12 months, I'm gonna build in $350,000 in equity, and it's going to appreciate at 8 to 10% per year. So if next year this property is worth 1.2 million, then in 10 years, in 2034, it'll be worth 2.4 million. And then in 2044, it'll be worth 4.8 million. And so the point of buying real estate is to buy it and then wait. I'm not gonna sell this property if I don't have to, as long as it's cash flowing and just sitting there making me richer. And once this project is done, or if I find another good BRRRR that I can just buy 20% down, I'm gonna buy that too, do the same thing, and let all these properties appreciate and make me wealthy. So that's my story. That is the plan. The first B in BRRRR is done. I found the great deal. I've closed on it. Next steps here are gonna be to get them moved out so we can fix up the inside and show you that whole process. Then I'm finalizing with architects and builders this week to start the process of the dadu. I'm gonna take you guys through all of it. I'm gonna show you what we're doing, how we're gonna do it, what it's gonna cost. This is the first episode of the BRRRR to a Million series. This baby is gonna get my portfolio a third of the way to $1 million, and I am super psyched for it. Look, if I can do this in my 20s, you can too. This is how we're gonna get rich and wealthy. I will see you in the next one.